reject me. All I have done in your honor.
What is going on, my fellow nerds? Operator Otter here, and today we are going to go over what is hopefully the best campaign Sorc guide on the YouTubes to help you as a new or returning player to Sorc blast through the campaign and enjoy the absolutely monumental buffs that the Sorc is receiving in 0.4. So what buffs are we receiving in 0.4 that make it worth choosing a Sorc over other classes this season? We have three primary buffs happening to the Sorc that will allow it to output unmatched levels of DPS. Those changes are Refracted Infusions, giving 100% from 50% chance for extra infusion. Multiplying Squalls now grants +2 instead of +1 to Orb skill limit. Elemental Equilibrium now makes Lightning Infusions Cold Infusions. This allows us in the late game to run a variant where we spam Orb of Storms to proc our Cast on Critical Spark that will be cold infused every time, dealing 4 times more damage than a standard Spark, as well as having a ready to cast triple infused Firestorm or Comet ready to drop from the sky to absolutely obliterate any target that looks at us in a way we deem unacceptable. Now let's get some disclaimers out of the way before we start on the guide. First, this guide is not meant to get you through the campaign as fast as possible, but rather as efficiently as possible without the headache of constant failure at certain points where we're deemed very difficult for Sorcs in the past. Second, Sorc is a combo-based class, and has a much more complicated rotation to deal immense levels of damage than compared to other classes, which, for example, usually has a boss experience in the campaign that looks like this. Whilst Sorc has a boss experience that looks like this. And if you mess up anywhere on that rotation, you're probably going to deal about 30% less damage than you could have. It's very punishing, but it's also very rewarding at the same time. So if you like one-button builds, this ain't the video for you, and I wish you luck in the season start. For the rest of you, let's get started. All right, so first things first, Otter, where is the written guide? I am a seasoned veteran Path of Exile 2 player. I do not need to watch your entire video to know how to run through the campaign. I just want to see what I need to do, where I'm supposed to go, and call it good. No problem. I got it for you guys, all right? This is going to be in the link in the description below. This is going to be the guide that's for everybody, but you can just click on this and read through it and be good to go. If you have any questions about specific parts of this written guide, just look for it in the chapters timestamps below on the video, and hopefully I am able to address that, or you can just leave it in the comments below. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is Una's first shop. Una is an NPC that you can buy Spellcaster weapons from in the Clearfall encampment after you kill the Bloated Miller. She used to give stats that gave +2 to elemental skills. They are nerfing it to +1, which is a bit of a nerf, but it's not too bad. We're still going to be able to run through the campaign just fine. But through here, I ran to Una 50 times, and this is the data that I got. Now, I'm not including Cold here because Cold was by far the slowest Act 1 clear time I had, and so I'm not including it. If you're looking for a Cold die, this ain't it. What we're looking for here is going to either be Lightning, Fire, or Chaos for our Act 1 clear times, and from here we can see that we have a 56% chance that we're going to get some type of item that is going to give us ranks to that skill. Now, if you do get to Una and you do not get a weapon with plus ranks to any of those skills, you can just back out, recreate your character, and try again, but if you're doing this right on season start, I suggest against that because the servers are going to be overloaded and you're probably going to be waiting in queue again. So it's not necessary, but these are the chances for you to actually kind of have that start. Now, the thing is that we need gold to actually buy this weapon and to buy the movement speed boots from Renly. So where are we getting the gold? Because after you kill Bloated Miller and you sell those identified items, you get maybe like 200 gold, and we need 600 to 800 to buy these items. So where are we getting that? All right, so when you get into the game, you're going to go ahead and select your movement type. And then from here, you're going to make sure that you skip tutorials. From here, I'm going to go ahead and speed it up until we get to the point that's relevant where we're going to get our gold. All right, so right here, this is going to be the chest with the gem. You're going to unclick the chest, pick up the gem. From here, you're going to run over and get the checkpoint. Once you have the checkpoint, you're going to press escape, and you're going to go to respawn at checkpoint. Now, it's very close to log screen and microtransaction shop. Really be careful, because if you exit, that's going to be rough with the season start. So just make sure you're respawning at checkpoint. Once you respawn, you'll walk back over, open, pick up, respawn. Go back over, open, pick up, respawn. Now, each of these gems is going to sell for 29 gold, and we're going to do this about 20 times. And once we have it done 20 times, that's going to give us roughly, give or take, 600 gold plus the 200 to 300 that we're getting from selling the items from the Bloated Miller. And this is going to give us enough gold to go ahead and buy boots and as well get our weapon from Una's shop. And that is the trick. We just keep doing this until eventually we have 4 rows of it filled out, plus the one that we're actually going to go ahead and put on our skill bar. And that is how we get our gold. All right, for here, we're going to go ahead and kill the bloated miller. I'll speed it up, and we're going to get to Una's shop. In the Google Docs sheet right here, you'll see the search key for shops. You'll go ahead and take this, copy it. We'll go ahead and copy paste it here. Now we have multiple. So we have, bam, this is going to be a chaos. We could do a chaos start. We could do a regular damage start because it's a spell damage. We could do a spell damage start. We could do a cold start, but that's not all that great. We got cast speed, and we got cast speed increased spell damage. So what I would do is I would take this one because this is giving me chaos spells and spell damage. So I would make my starter into the ED Contagion build because I have now gotten the chaos and spell damage. So when I go here, I go, okay, I'm going to be doing the ED Contagion chaos start build. That's going to be right here. What am I going to go for? And this is going to be kind of your Act 1 split as you're going. And what I have tried to do is make it so that each of these support gems that you're putting into these aren't the best options for ED Contagion. But what it does do is it allows you to transfer into a lightning variant because the support gems are the ones that you can put into the lightning spells when you finally do find the staff that empowers your lightning skills or all skills, and you can kind of shift into the lightning variant. So if we look here at the witch starter board, you can see that yes, they get the same spell damage that we do, but once they reach level 6, this is where things can differ. They can immediately get access to this chaos damage node trees, and this really allows them to kind of like thrust forward into Act 2. They can also get access to these and this as the physical damage on this side for Bone Storm. We as Sorcs don't have these nodes right here, and even though it seems like, oh, this is a really small thing, it really does slow down the process of the leveling by quite a bit. You will feel that once you get to Act 2 as a Sorc, you will really fall off. So if we look at a Sorc, what options do we have? Well, when we go into the same part of that tree, the options that we have are going to be elemental damage that's scaling, or things that have to do with elemental infusions and for ailments of the elements. That's essentially what we have. So we're really going to play into that by doing the elemental damage, and that allows us to scale damage for our class a little bit better. So even though ED Contagion is at its base amount like the strongest AoE clearer, we just really fall off in terms of how we can scale it as Sorcs compared to the Witch. Returning back to how we're actually going to play this, essentially the way it works is really easy. You're surrounded by mobs, you drop a contagion, you hit them with Essence Drain, and the whole pack just blows up. It's pretty easy. Now what you can do here is you can actually use Orb of Storms at this point, and it's like, okay, why are we using Orb of Storms? Orb of Storms is a lightning spell, and every single time you cast a spell next to Orb of Storms, it will do this bolt out to the target, and so I'll kind of show you what I'm talking about. So we can go ahead. There's our Orb of Storms. Every single time we cast these, you see how they're kind of bolting, and they bolt, and they bolt, right? So this also works with Essence Drain, Contagion, and Bone Storm. And as you're charging up your Bone Storm, it'll cause the bolts to keep going out, and those bolts are going to apply shock to the target. Shock is a very powerful multiplier, so that's the reason why the top guys are running it. Once you get to level 14, you'll grab Bone Storm, and Bone Storm just shreds bosses like really, really easily because of the impale and how that works, but it just really falls off for Sorc, so it's not an option that we're going to continue to run down. We're really going to try to shift into Lightning after Act 1. Now for the Fire build, the way it works is kind of the same thing. We're still going for Contagion. We will be going for Contagion in all 3 variants of the builds because Contagion is so strong at clearing Red Veil. It is just way, way, way too good. Drop Contagion on a target, hit it with Spark, hit it with a Fireball, hit it with a Lightning Bolt, hit it with anything, and like the Contagion spreads and kills everything. It's awesome. When it comes to the Fire skill, is really what we're trying to do is we're trying to get the Living Bomb and Fireball. Now the way what Living Bomb works is that you mark a target and then you hit it with a certain amount of damage, and it will go ahead and ignite and blow up, or when it dies, it'll blow up. And when it blows up, it will then become infused, or drop a Fire Infusion. You pick up that Fire Infusion, now Fireball can become infused, and it deals a lot more damage. So the idea is Living Bomb, Fireball, Living Bomb, Fireball, Living Bomb, Fireball, and you just like do those two, and the AoE damage is really, really impressive, and it actually does really well. The problem is that even though the Ember Fusillade plus Orb of Storms combo is very, very strong, it was the strongest build that we had as Sorcs before, it is just much better now to go pure lightning for the infusions. We just never really understood how to utilize the infusions to that degree. At the start at 0.3, and now for sure we understand like lightning is just the best way to go. So we're still going to want to shift into lightning, but I do want to explain very like bare bones how the fire and the chaos work for Act 1. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go over the skill gem priority list, why we're choosing specific skills, why we're choosing specific supports, and I'm going to go like briefly over it. I'm not going to go super in depth. I just hope that you trust my word for it. Hopefully the comment section can kind of like verify that I'm telling you guys this. I'm not going to give you like everything there is to it, but I want it to be like clear to those who are newer why we're choosing specific things. So let's talk about Spark first. So Spark has a very fast cast speed. And so we really want to make that faster because we're going to combine that with Orb of Storms. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, Orb of Storms states that when you cast a spell next to it, it's going to bolt. So what we're going to do is we'll cast our Orb of Storms here. We cast, you see how it bolts? It bolts, it bolts, it bolts. You can barely see it, but it's bolting. And what that bolt does is very high damage. So what we want to do is we want to be able to cast the Spark faster. So we're going to go ahead and put rapid casting into our Spark, and then at the same time we want to put overabundance in our Orb of Storms. This is going to allow us to have 2 Orb of Storms out. So we can put Orb of Storms, and now we can cast very quickly. And this combo right here is going to allow us to AoE clear very well. So that's like the base functionality of that piece of combo from there, right? But then we were like, okay, so why are we casting rapid casting and projectile acceleration as the second support gems that we're going for? And the reason that we are going for that is that first, projectile acceleration allows the sparks to travel faster. Now, the way that Spark works is that every 0.66 seconds, so you can see the target rehit interval, this allows to actually hit the target again. And right now, with projectile duration, it's not going to put it into the next breakpoint that will allow another projectile to hit, nor is it very common. So what we want to do is we really want to get these projectiles fast to actually come back and hit the target faster. So it's just a better one to run at first until projectile acceleration. And as for our Orb of Storms, we're going to go ahead and put in rapid casting because that's going to allow us to actually get these spells out faster and go through our rotation faster. So that right there is going to be kind of our bread and butter right from the start of the get-go. But now what we're going to do is we're going to talk about Frostbomb because we don't get Arc yet until later, but that will be next turn. So Frostbomb, the way that we're going to do this is we're also going to put Overabundance and Spell Cascade into this. Now, why are we doing that? Well, the reason being is that we can actually increase the amount of limits that we have with Frostbomb. But the problem is that we can only cast 1 Frostbomb at a time. So as I see here, you're casting 1 Frostbomb. I can't cast another one until this charge goes off, and that gives me my Cold Infusion, right? So there's my Cold Infusion. But what we can do is we can actually put Spell Cascade in, which is a level 1 gem. And now what it's going to do is it's going to cast 2 of them next to the site at the same time because Frost Orb has a limit. So now what we can do is we can cast that, and now we have 2 at the same time. Now, the reason why you're seeing 3 right here is because in my passives, I actually have something called Secrets of the Orb, and Frostbomb counts as an orb. We're going to show that later, but now you can see how I can get 3 Cold Infusions just off of that. So that's a really nifty trick that we're going to do to actually get a lot of Cold Infusions. Now, why are these Cold Infusions important? The reason why these Cold Infusions are so important is because of what happens with Spark when it becomes Cold Infused. So if we could look here and we look at Cold Infused, we can go ahead and see that the damage goes from this 4 to 81, which is a very large very large range with 7 projectiles, to now it's actually going to launch double the projectiles. It's still going to have that lightning damage, but then it has this really short range of high damage right here. So it's literally going to like quadruple the damage of the Spark. So we want to get Cold Infused as often as possible in order to do that. And the way that we're going to get Cold Infused very quickly is by having this Overabundance and the Spell Cascade, which is going to give us 2 off the rip in the beginning of Act 1. And once we have Secrets of the Orb, it will give us 3, as you see right here. So now what we're going to do is we're going to talk about Arc. The way that Arc works is that it's a very powerful clearer in terms of AoE. And we're going to combine this with Unleash and the Orb of Storms because Arc can become lightning infused. So when we look at Arc and we read it, you can see that when it becomes lightning infused, it does 200% more damage right there. 200% more damage when lightning infused. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to cast our Orb of Storms, and we're going to go ahead and cast our Spark, and we do our stuff. And now when we become infused, the next pack that we go up to, we can cast this Arc that is going to have Unleash in it. And with the Unleash in the Arc, now what's going to happen is that it's going to let out essentially 2 arcs worth of damage. And it's just going to pop and just pop the whole screen. Very strong at AoE clear. Really want to utilize that when we can. The 2 things that we're going to put into it are going to be Control Destruction and Considered Casting, because we really just want to hit really hard and just AoE clear everything. And so that's essentially how that's working. Now, the next thing that we want to talk about is why Frostbomb and Elemental Weakness are so strong. Frostbomb and Elemental Weakness are able to actually put negative resistances on a target. And why is that important? Well, let's imagine that your target has, let's say, 50% resistance. I'll go ahead and make everything white. I don't know why it's not white lettering here. So let's imagine that your target has 50% resistance, okay? And let's say that you're doing 100 damage. Well, that just means you're going to do 50 damage to it because that's 50% resistance, right? Now, let's say that you were able to lower the resistance with exposure by 40%, and then with your elemental weakness, you're able to lower it by another 50%, right? So you're able to lower the target's resistances by a total of 90%. So this is going to throw this resistance into what's known as negative resistances, where it's going to take negative 40% resistance. And because of that, it's going to take extra damage. So now what happens is it actually takes 40% more damage. So now the damage is 140. So with the combination of exposure and the elemental weakness, we're actually dealing about triple damage. Now the thing is that Frostbomb actually applies exposure. As you can see, the exposure is being applied. But one of the big things about it is that the exposure can only be applied to enemies of a specific level. And it's the same thing with elemental weakness. If we go ahead and read this, it can only be applied to enemies of a certain level. So as we're going through the campaign, it's really important that we actually keep the elemental weakness and the Frostbomb at a high level. If you have the choice where you have like like your Spark, your Orb of Storms, and your Arc are all level 10, and you get a level 11, and your Frostbomb and your elemental weakness are like level 8 or level 9, you actually want one of these to become the level 11. It's going to give you more damage than upgrading one of the spells that give you damage, because we're going to be applying the Frostbomb and elemental weakness on every single elite and boss that there is, and it gives us such a massive power bonus to have those that it's really worth it. So the next thing we're going to talk about is Tempest. So with Tempest, the way that this works is that every single time you cast Tempest, it's going to give the base damage, or sorry, going to give the spell a % of its base damage. So if we look at Mana Tempest here, you can read that the empowered spells are going to give 52% of its damage as extra lightning damage. And this is to any spell, but we use this with lightning spells because we're already going for lightning damage, so it works well. But another thing about it is that the empowered spells split to an additional target. So essentially what happens here is I want you to imagine that we go ahead and get ourselves lightning infused. So now we are lightning infused here. And then what happens is that our arc is super ready. And then what happens is we go into a group, we cast our Tempest, we cast arc. And because of all of that, the arcs are now dealing triple damage, and they're getting empowered by Mana Tempest to deal 52% more damage on top of that. So all of a sudden, these arcs are going to hit for 4.5 times more damage, but you're casting 2 of them, and the damage just becomes so insane that it just insta clears the entire pack. It's a very, very strong AoE clear. You're also going to utilize it on your boss clear rotations, which we will talk about later. Now later, we're going to get Firestorm and we're going to get Comet. Now Firestorm did get very, very buffed in one of the most recent patches, kind of a update to the patch notes. Firestorm got basically 3 to 4 times more damage than what it's doing right now, and it also had a bug where the fire and the cold infusions were not actually working. So yeah, this thing is going to deal so much damage, and we're going to have ways to be able to infuse ourselves really, really easily as we go over into our ascendancies. And then Comet also got a massive bust. It's going to be doing 2 times more damage, and we're going to have ways to get fire infusions. We'll talk about how we are going to do that once we get into our ascendancies, but this is essentially how the gems are working and how we're going to utilize them. So now what I want to show is kind of like what it looks like in like not the end game, but once you get to like level 50, we're going to go ahead and put all of these supports on all of the skills. So I'll go ahead and get that going, and I'll show you essentially what we're trying to go for. So we're going to go ahead and put Unleash on Orb of Storms. We'll put this Siphon Elements here with the Harmonic Elements, put this there, here, Control Destruction here, here, Prolonged Duration goes here, Focus Curse, and that goes there. Right. Okay, cool. So we have everything. We're good to go. So essentially what happens is that because I have taken the Secrets of the Orb and I have Overabundance on my Orb of Storms, I am now able to cast 3 of my Orb of Storms. So you can see there's 3 there. I can also cast 3 of the Frost Bombs. And so because of this, now what happens is that when you're going through our rotation, we are fully infused on almost every pack that we hit. We're able to drop the resistances immediately. We're able to immediately go into our Tempest and just drop this massively empowered triple infused arc. And essentially we just become super powered. And we're basically utilizing these infusions and picking them up very well. Now the other thing is we want to talk about our ascendancy. So what do we want to do with our ascendancy? The first one that we want to do is we want to grab our Arcane Surge, because Arcane Surge giving us 15% cast rate is just way too strong. And then on top of that, what we're going to do is we're then going to go for Refracted Infusion. Now, this is going to be buffed to where we're 100% going to get a better infusion. And why is this strong? Well, this is why. So now we're going to go ahead and do this. And now when I go through and I pick up infusions, you see I have a fire infusion now? Well, now because I have this Fire Infusion, anytime I want to drop a Comet or I want to drop a Firestorm on Elite or something, I have the option to do so because I am now Fire Infused, and both of those spells are going to use Fire Infusions. So every single spell that I'm casting is going to be infused, and these infusions are getting buffed in 0.4. They're going to be doing about triple more damage than what the base damage of the spell is. So this is why we're really utilizing these infusions and why we can get them so quickly now, and that's how the Sorc is basically going to kind of dominate in terms of the campaign and how it's going to make it a smooth experience for you. So now that we've talked about the gems, now we got to talk about the passive tree and why we're going the path that we are. So the first thing that we're doing is we're just going straight up and we're going for spell damage because glass cannon damage is just kind of the way to go. Now, if you want to, you can go this way and get a lot less damage, but it's definitely not worth it in the beginning acts. I would just go for pure damage. Now, once you get up to this point, we're going to have places where you can split. And in the guide, I can express where you're going to go. So if we go right here, you can see these arrows. These are the arrows that are associated with them and where we're going to go and why we're going to do it. So let's go ahead and talk about it. So the first one that we're going to do is we're going to come up and we're going to grab Potent Incantation. The reason being is that this is 4 points for 60% increased spell damage, which is just very strong. We don't have a lot of ways to be able to apply ailments or anything to targets. We just want that flat spell damage, and that's very good. It's going to work with any variant of the build. It works with Chaos, it works with Fires, it works with anything. It's very good. So we're just going to go for Potent Incantation. From here, we're going to come down this way, and we're going to start grabbing this damage against ailments. Essentially, now that we have Orb of Storms, we're able to easily apply shock to the targets. And so because of that, when they get affected by Shark, we are just going to be able to hit them a lot harder. From here, we'll get into Act 2, and now we're going to go down this way, and we're going to grab Mana Cost Efficiency. Why? Mana Cost Efficiency is just the greatest thing since sliced bread, and when you play with it, you'll understand what I'm saying. When we go into our rotations, especially with Unleash, because the problem is that these gems, even though they're very powerful, they do have cost multipliers. So if you look at Unleash, it gives 150% cost multiplier. And we're going to have Unleash an Arc. We're going to have Unleash an Orb of Storms. If you look at the base cost of our elemental weakness, it is a lot. It's 110 mana. We're going to have ways to kind of like drop this, but you can imagine that without the mana cost efficiency or efficiency in there, the mana that's required to cast elemental weakness is ridiculous. It will literally drain half your mana. So we want these mana cost efficiencies to be able to cast our spells out and go into our rotations without any problems. From here, we're going to go on to the left, and what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and grab these. These are going to increase the skill effect durations of not only our Sparks, but also our Orb of Storms. And this, plus the prolonged duration in your Spark when you get your Lesser Jewels Orb, which is going to be right about here, is going to allow you to actually hit the next breakpoint, and now your Sparks are going to be able to hit the target an additional time, which is going to be a lot more extra damage. From here, we go up here, we're going to split off to the left. When we come here, we're going to go for this one first. This is going to give us 5% to all elemental resistances, but also just gives us 50% elemental damage, and we're all pure elemental damage, so that works out well. And then we're going to go here and we're going to grab this. This is going to increase the magnitude of the non-damaging ailments you inflict. Non-damaging ailments being shock and chill. So we're going to increase the magnitude of that. That means our shock is going to go from 20% up to 30% of that, which is going to be 26%. So we're giving ourselves 6% extra shock, which is a lot more powerful than you think it is. It's very good to go. From here, we'll go this way, and we're going to come down, and we're going to grab Secrets of the Orb. Once we have Secrets of the Orb, this is when we can cast 3 Orb of Storms at the same time, as well as 3 Frost Bombs at the same time, which allows us to get infused very, very quickly and is very good. It also just adds another Orb of Storms into the mix, which allows us to do more damage, so that's very good to go. From here, we'll grab here, and we're going to go up first. What this is going to do is we are going for the elemental damage, but really we're going for the increased exposure effects. We're going to increase our exposure by 40%, which is going to increase the amount of exposure that Frostborn is applying from, I think, at least 25% to about 40%. It's really, really strong. Definitely want to go for that. And then what we'll go here is we'll go for Stormbreaker, which is increased damage for each type of elemental ailment on the enemy. By this point, we are going to have the gem to be able to cast a Firestorm or a Comet, and that means we're going to be able to ignite the enemy. The cold infused sparks can chill the enemy, and obviously we have lightning damage, which is going to shock the enemy. So we are able to hit all 3, which is the 60% increased damage node. It's very powerful, so we'll go with that. Then we'll come down and we'll go here. This is going to give us more damage when we become infused by the actual infusions. And then we hit here for our gem socket when we get it from the Trial of Sekhmet. Now from here, what we're going to do is we're going to do a weapon set swap. If you don't know how weapon set skill points go, I'm going to go ahead and guide you to this video. This has been a very well received video about talking about weapon sets, and this is what you want to do. We're going to go this way with weapon set 2, and we're going to go ahead and set this to curse magnitudes and make our curse element's weakness only be cast on weapon set 2. And then on weapon set 1, we're going to go this way, and we're going to come here, and we're going to grab Echoing Frost and Echoing Thunder. You get 30% increased elemental damage if you've chilled an enemy recently, and we're always cold infused, and so sparks are chilling enemies. And we're going to get 30% elemental damage if we shocked an enemy recently. And then from there, we can also go down if we ignite an enemy recently for bosses. We can do that. It's not going to be common for the actual like map clear or anything like that, these two are going to be much more common. And that essentially is going to take us all the way through Act 4, and then we'll hit our interludes and things will change a bit there. You can kind of like venture off into new things once you hit the interludes, but this is going to get you through to Act 4 very smoothly, and you'll enjoy the process. All right, from here, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about this being the areas that we're going to, and I want to talk about a pretty nifty trick. I didn't realize that this was a thing until I started like really speedrunning the acts, and I kind of fell into this trap where I got into Matland Waterways when I was level 27, and I was not getting any experience at all. Yes, that is because there actually is a system in the game that kind of prevents people from basically rushing people into the game, carrying them through. They can't do it. You have to like fight stuff that's your level. The way that it works, it's a very weird formula. I'm not going to go into detail about it. I'm just going to let you know right here. This is the needed player level you need to be into each of these areas. So when you enter these areas, you need to be this level in order to receive the maximum amount of XP. If you are not this level, you are not going to receive the maximum amount of XP. There is a very weird equation to it and how it functions. I'm not going to go into detail about that because I've already yapped enough in this video, but just know that this is the needed player level you need to be if you want to receive the maximum amount of XP in that specific area. From there, I'm going to talk about the danger being the sprint ease. So you can essentially talk about like how easy it is to sprint and not get knocked down and die. But I want to show you a pretty cool trick with the sprint to do that. To kind of save you so that you don't die and get like reset all the way back to the beginning. You can actually save a lot of time. I'll show you what that is in a second here. But this is basically telling you how dangerous the area is. The things to note is just understand that Tomb of Consort is going to be really, really hard. It's going to be one of the first areas that you do, and it's one of the hardest areas in the game. And the reason being, it has these reflect knights that are going to reflect any projectile damage right back at you, and it hits you really, really, really hard. The Orb of Storms bolts, for some reason, are coded as a projectile, even though it doesn't have the projectile tag on it. And so that just means that it's going to reflect a lot at you. So just understand that's how that one's going to work, and take it nice and slow in there. Act 2 is pretty easy. Don't need to worry too much about it. Just understand that the Shar, Dreadnought, and Dreadnought Vanguard could be a little bit dangerous. When we get to Act 3, nothing's too dangerous. It's pretty chill until you get to Utsal. Utsal, I would say, is literally the worst place in the entire game so far out of any other area in all the game, even the interludes, even in the maps and T16 maps. I hate Utsal. Utsal is really, really rough. So take your time with Utsal, making sure that you kill everything and just do what you need to do. When you get to Act 4, the places of worry are going to be Shrike Island, and then a friend just informed me, he's an islander, of how to pronounce this. This is Fakupanu Island is how you're supposed to pronounce it. That's very interesting to me, but that is how you pronounce it. And then Heart of the Tribe. These areas are really rough. Heart of the Tribe applies a bleed, and bleed goes right through our energy shield and actually just starts bleeding our life. So just be aware of that. Take your time when you're doing these things, and just understand how it can be hard. Now, a cool trick that you can do to kind of save you from the whole sprinting and getting knocked down thing is I'm going to show you a pretty cool trick. So let's go ahead and go to, I don't know, let's go to Mana Ramparts. I'm literally just going to run through and not even try to dodge. There, I get knocked down, right? Oh, I'm going to die here. Like, we can see that, like, I would die. One of the things you can do is right when you get knocked down, you can actually just exit to character selection. And then you can play. And watch this. Now just roll to the side where you saw a spot. I'm just going to hold down the right key, and I can roll out. And now you can re-enter, and you can go right back on your sprint. So if you get knocked down like that, I'm going to roll to the left, and I'm good to go. Yeah, they haven't fixed this yet. Obviously, I think this is going to get hot fixed, but that is a way that you can actually save yourself. So if you do get knocked down, you can actually just relog and be okay, and you don't need to worry about it. And you can just keep sprinting basically through the entire map, which is really nice. So just understand that you can kind of utilize that as you're going through the campaign to make it a little bit faster and easier on you. All right, so now what we're going to do to finish up the video is we're going to talk about our spell rotations. The first one's going to be AoE crowd kill rotations. These are very easy to do. You can read, you're adults, it's easy. You do these, the screen blows up. It's pretty easy to do. Now, when it comes to boss kill rotations, it's a little bit more complicated because we've got prep, hittable, and reset. So let's talk about this one. This is like the really hard one, right? Or this one, I should say. This is like the one I have right now. So the thing that we're going to prep is we're going to do Frost Bomb 2 to 3 times and Orb of Storms. Now, when I say a Frost Bomb 2 to 3 times, what I'm saying is make sure that you have 2 or 3 fusions out for the Frost Bomb and at least 2 infusions for the Orb of Storms, which is very easy. All we have to do is Frost Bomb once, and bam, that's it. That's all we have to do. We just wait for them to spawn, and when the Orb of Storms go down, we will get our Lightning Fusions. They will expire, and we'll be good to go, as you can see here. Then what happens is what is hittable? Well, that's when the target is actually hittable, like we can target them. From there, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and Frost Bomb. We Elemental Weakness. We cast our Orb of Storms, Mana Tempest, into the arc, and then we're going to keep casting our sparks until we're completely out of cold infusions. Now, once I am out of cold infusions, that's when I know that I need to reset, and that is going to be right here. So when we reset, we're going to go right into the same rotation. We're going to Frost Bomb, Elemental Weakness, Orb of Storms, Mana Tempest, infused, and then we're going to do this until we are all out of cold infusions. We're all out, fantastic, and we redo it. And that is going to be our rotation, and we just keep doing it over and over again until the boss dies. And the boss is going to die very, very quickly if you do this rotation quickly. Most bosses die within about 10 seconds. It's going to be very easy. That's all I have for you. I hope you enjoyed the video and found it informative. I know it was a long one and had a lot of information, which is the reason I haven't made a campaign guide in the past, but I want to give you guys quality content and not lead you astray with shorter video. I want you to succeed, and most of all, I want you to have fun. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like, comment, and if you're feeling extra generous, maybe even subscribe. We do have a wonderful Sorc community in the Discord that has been popping off talking about all of these changes and what we will be going for. So if you want to stay up to date, please feel free to join our community. We welcome you with open arms. Lastly, I will be streaming on the season release for 24 hours. If you'd like to drop by and support me in my season opener stream, we as the Sorc community would love to have you and see what awesome stuff we can cook. Links for all things will be in the descriptions below. Have yourself a wonderful day. Operator Otter, out.